You're listening to Season 10 of Mobile Suit Breakdown, a weekly podcast covering the entirety of sci-fi mega franchise Mobile Suit Gundam from 1979 to today.
This is episode 10.42, Hearing Without Hearing, and we're your hosts. I'm Tom, and I don't want to make this weird, but Lupe Chino might have the smallest nipples of any person in human history. Is that a weird thing to say? It's a weird thing to know, and now we all do.
And I'm Nina, new to Victory Gundam, and I just realized we're entering the final fifth of this series, but I don't feel ready to make predictions about the ending just yet. Ask me when we're in the final 10th. Mobile Suit Breakdown is made possible by our enchanting Earthnoid paying subscribers. No Spacenoid subscribers yet, that I know of. Thank you all, and special thanks to our newest patron, Ominous Hominid, and to Jan for supporting us on Ko-fi. You keep us Genki.
This week we're covering Victory Gundam episode 42, Senketsu wa Hikari no Uzu ni, or A Shining Vortex of Fresh Blood. The episode was written by Okiya Akira, storyboarded and directed by Ashizawa Takeshi, with Nishimura Nobuyoshi directing the animation. Now, the recap. Pippiniden's fleet encountered stiffer than expected resistance from the joint Federation-League fleet defending the Highland Solar Battery, and now falls back in good order to the relative safety of the Angel Halo. Uso wants to pursue and destroy the advanced unit before it can rendezvous with the other fleets defending the new Zanskar superweapon, but Marbet orders him back to base. Better to withdraw before they're forced to tangle with the mysterious, flying saucer-riding, bell-ringing Zanek again. Vespa's commanders are too distracted scheming amongst themselves to pay much attention to the impending fleet battle. Tassilo and Farah plan to eliminate the upstart pilot Pippiniden by throwing him against the Federation until he's exhausted. And if that doesn't work, Farah could always just kill him herself. Pippiniden has his own plan. Frustrated by the lack of support they received in the last engagement, he and Lupe Chino devise a false retreat to lure Tassilo Ago's Shubaten fleet into battle, and Lupe is ready to ambush Farah's Zanek if it joins the fray. Their strategy conference ends with an intimate embrace. It seems the two have become lovers. But this is a farce. Lupe is only leading her commander on. Alone, she is quick to scrub any traces of Pippiniden's affection from her lips, and she declares that she's only interested in kisses if they come from boys. At the other end of the battlefield, the League and Federation forces are moving into position to begin the next assault. The reconstituted Shrike team launches from the Lean Horse to join the vanguard. Francesca's Hexa Victory unit has been equipped with a new weapon, an upgraded Mega Beam Shield fresh off the production line. The power of the shield is astonishing to behold, but Francesca struggles to control it. She lets a stray enemy shot through, and only barely manages to bail out before her Hexa explodes. The Shrikes and their allies press the attack, and Pippiniden's fleet begins to retreat, all according to plan. But even as the enemy comes into range, Tassilo remains inert. He wants to see Pippiniden's strength completely exhausted before he commits any of his ships. As for Pippiniden himself, he chooses this moment to leave the Rasteos bridge, intending to join the fight in his personal mobile armor, the Birkenau. Uso's unit, operating from the White Ark, are in the fray, but with Karlman aboard acting as organic radar, their real mission is to hunt down and neutralize the mighty Zanek the moment it appears on the field. Fortunately, they're close enough to the main battle for Odello to spot Francesca in her normal suit, drifting beside the new shield. "Never mind about me," she tells him. "Get this shield to Uso. Only his V2 can handle its monstrous output." As for Uso, he has been caught out ahead of his unit by Lupe's squadron, and they have him in a bit of a pinch, but the timely arrival of the shield allows him to turn the tide. As they clash, Lupe throws her jumbled feelings at him, her warring desires to fight him, to embrace him, to mother him, to love him, to be purified by him. I won't be your dream. I'm nobody's tool, Uso snarls and drives a beam saber deep into the chest of Lupe's mobile suit. For once, she does not eject from the stricken machine, but rockets back toward Pippiniden and the Rasteo. She arrives just as Pippiniden's unit leaves the hangar. For a moment, the two machines embrace before Lupe's mobile suit detonates, taking Pippiniden, his mobile armor, and the entire ship with her. And the battle continues. Oh, I am going through it this morning. Somebody decided to wake me up at 4 a.m. because she was cold and thought that it might be warmer in the blankets with me. So, I don't know. I think this episode mostly speaks for itself, right? We don't need to do commentary on this one.
Ha!
Oh, did you have something to say?
Well, I have quite a few notes in front of me, but maybe I can sum them up with a meme. How does that saying from the internet go? Rip to Sigmund Freud, you'd have loved Victory Gundam.
He totally would have.
Right?
I think he would have loved the collected works of Tomino Yoshiyuki.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's some stuff in this episode, but all of it pales in comparison to Lupe's fiasco. She sure does have a lot of feelings about men and boys, Uso specifically. Feelings, dreams.
Like so much of Tomino Gundam, it doesn't really explain itself, and it's not particularly clear what various characters mean at certain times, what exactly their goals and motivations are.
If it was all clear, we'd be out of a job.
For instance, why does she care whether Pippiniden succeeds or not, or does well in the war? She goes on to say later that all she cares about is a true test of strength between two different pilots. She wants a battle that's a real test of her mettle and of someone else's. So why does it matter whether or not Pippiniden fights well or doesn't?
And a couple of times in this episode, in fact, 3 times, which is enough to prove a pattern, they talk about Pippiniden as a former pilot who has risen above his station, an upstart pilot.
Someone who has risen beyond his abilities.
And is not particularly well suited to the role he has found himself in. I think a lot of Zanskar's stuff, especially in this episode, starts to make more sense if you imagine those relationships that we talked about last week. Those
man who plans, woman who executes.
Yeah, those paired relationships, which recur for basically every meaningful Zanskar character as warped, twisted family dynamics. Within the logic of the show, within the messaging of the show, these are wrong and bad. And they are warping and twisting and corrupting the people who participate in them. And I think in the Lupe-Pippiniden relationship, she's supposed to be the housewife who supports him at home, encourages him to go out and do his best at his difficult office job. So she wears the dress, she puts on the makeup, she does the show of affection, all to motivate him, to make him be serious, to make him go out there and do his dang job already. I don't think it's a coincidence that she talks about going to these incredible lengths to try to get him to be serious. And when she does that, she's talking about this like over-the-top presentation of femininity. She's wearing a dress covered in ruffles over her pilot suit.
And holding out the promise of sex as a reward if he fights well enough. But again, motivate him for what purpose? How does motivating him help her achieve any of her goals?
I mean, I guess it's just what you're supposed to do. Her desires have clearly been twisted so that she doesn't really understand what she wants or how to get it.
Perhaps. The moment that you talked about it as a sort of perversion of the family, I actually thought of the sort of woman who might marry or take up with a man she doesn't really care about for the purposes of having a child.
Mm-hmm.
Because she really wants to be a mother and she doesn't know if she's going to get another shot. And so, well, this guy is good enough, whatever.
I mean, that's what happens at the end of the episode. When Lupe's mobile suit embraces Pippiniden's mobile armor, after she has had this confrontation with Uso, and he has told her, like, if you want to embrace a kid so badly, go have a baby, which, whew.
Yeah,
wow.
I take considerable issue with the characterization of, like, pedophilia by women
God,
as like a perversion of motherly instinct. That's real messed up.
And that's like, I don't even think it's a stretch to say that. Like, that is very clearly the messaging that the show is giving us. Lupe is this, like, weird, twisted woman whose deep-seated instinctual desire to have a baby of her own, to clasp a baby to her chest, has been twisted and perverted because she's steadfastly insisted on having a career and indulging in the sensuous pleasures of violence. She has shirked her maternal responsibilities, ignored her instincts, and as a result, she has turned into a pedophile. That is what the show is saying about her.
And
that's messed up.
And that she sees a child as something that would purify her.
Yes. The word she uses is joka, which, like, purification, but it's also what you would use for, like, cleansing, cleaning. You could use it to say, oh, I want to clear my head. I'm going to clear my head by going on vacation for a week or something like that. So it does feel like she's saying some sort of, like, intimate exchange with a young boy. The term she uses for this is wakaiko, which is, like, it's kind of generic. It's like a young person, literally means, like, young child, but it's used sort of more generally for, like, the youth today, young people. It's a range of time that can expand to include, like, under certain contexts, 20-year-olds. But in this context, it's pretty clear she means, like, a boy, a prepubescent child who she wants to, like, clasp to her breast and embrace and also fight.
So a couple of the visuals stood out to me as possibly significant. Her tire goes horizontal so that it's around her like a skirt, breaks up into a bunch of pieces, and then attempts to encircle Uso, which I don't know if there's a similar saying in Japanese or if the saying would have been well known, but the idea of, like, having a boy tied to your apron strings, keeping a boy tied to your skirts, is an idiom used to describe a mother who is overly protective and who is trying to keep her son a boy, even as he is becoming a man and should have more freedoms and more responsibilities. When she describes wanting him to sleep in her bosom, she's talking about killing him. She's talking about him being dead, but somehow living on through her. Her projected self in space is nude and trying to embrace Uso. The attack is an embrace.
But it's a weird kind of embrace because she's not just, like, holding her arms out to him. She's actually adopted, like, a cruciform posture.
She's T-posing. She's T-posing in space.
To assert her maternal dominance, I guess. Or it's more of the, like, religious imagery thing that Victory has been doing.
But where Katajina is outraged by Uso being, to her judgment, still a child and yet being more powerful than her, Lupe wants to keep him a powerful child forever by killing him.
And the show intermingles here ideas of violence and sex and, like, familial love. All are the same thing. All are expressed through battle. The metaphor is powerful.
But then why kill Pippiniden at the end? Like, yeah, she's been wasting her time with this guy, but so what?
But she's dying anyway. She's not killing him. She's dying together with him. It's a lover's suicide.
But she doesn't love him.
But think about how the mobile suits embrace
Oh,
at
totally.
the end.
Yeah.
I truly believe this is what the show is doing here. Uso's new type scream at her, if you want a baby so badly, go have one of your own, actually gets through to her, purifies the corruption out of Lupe, and then she goes back to Pippiniden, her, in this metaphor, her, like, husband figure, embraces him as she always should have. Again, this is the show's messaging.
But also recognizes that they're both worthless people and so should die.
Maybe they'll find each other again in the next life.
Woof. I mean...
Don't blame me about this. Don't shoot the messenger. Aside from all of the really messed up bits, Like, it's kind of fun to see two horrible people being horrible to each other in this way. Like, they deserve each other.
This was also such a great way for Pippi Needham to die.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Not even getting a chance to go out and fight in his mobile armor. Like, at the door to the hangar, running into his subordinate / lover, and then exploding. What a way to go. What a chump.
Like, did we ever get to see him do anything cool even once? I don't think so.
No, I don't.
I don't think he ever did a single cool thing.
For someone who they keep referring to as a pilot, did he ever actually pilot in battle?
No, I don't think so.
Because he arrives in Atomliat with his squadron, then he spends a bunch of time hanging out in Chronicle's room, being jealous of Katagina, then he gets appointed to be, like, commander of the Rasteo, after a brief stint as boss of Largain after Fire Griffin gets sent off to be space vacationed. And yeah, then he winds up here going out in the Birkenau, which, can I just point out, that name, Birkenau, that's the name of a concentration camp. That's part of Auschwitz. Tomino knew that. He visited the concentration camps in Europe before making this show. What the
What about Lupe's mobile suit?
The
Brukang? Yeah.
I don't know about that one.
Okay. I wondered if there was
anything together with it.
I did wonder if there was a theme.
It sounds Germanic. So any German-speaking listeners who are like, "Oh, Brukang, that's obviously a reference to whatever," feel free to get in touch. Would love a data point on that one. I do have one for Tassilo's flagship, the Schubaten.
Schubert?
No, I think that's supposed to be from Schwaben, which is the German name for what we call Swabia, which is in Bohemia, which is the area ruled by Duke Tassilo III.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Two last notes on Lupe, though there's plenty more to say about the rest of Zanskar Bespa. The fact that they show her with a little compact putting on lipstick before she launches feels as though it draws a connection between her and the Shrikes. Doesn't it?
Yes.
I can picture the show working towards a sort of Takarazuka principle on this, which is to say, oh, well, of course, we're very content for the little ladies to go out there and work and, like, do good stuff, just as long as they retire and go become wives and mothers before they're 30.
Yeah, they have to reaffirm the correct social order. They can have fun in their youth, and then it's time to transition to a new stage of life.
Right. So it's okay that the Shrikes are working women because they're all under 25 or whatever. But this Lupe lady who's maybe all of 28, like, I don't know about that.
She's over the hill. She's past her prime.
I mean, I don't know what age they put on it, but I assume it's something like that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a distinctive, like, I used the word earlier, but there's a sensuousness to everything Lupe does, even when she's murdering people in a bar in Eastern Europe. And now with the compact, yeah, the violence even has an element of it.
Also ties into that idea from some of the research I did way back on feminism in Japan and women's issues around this time. But she's already got her man, so what's she putting on lipstick for?
Well, she doesn't want her man, she wants a different man. But also, she's putting on the lipstick as she goes into battle. For her, battle is the arena of her life. Battle is dating, battle is love.
Right, but it implies things about her character as a woman and the kind of woman she is that are basically entirely negative.
Are we doing lipstick means she's a fallen woman, she can never go back to Narnia kind of deal?
Well, what kind of quote-unquote married woman is getting herself all dolled up for other men? Is still on the prowl for other men, even though she's already snagged a man?
Mm-hmm. Does this express a certain, like, cultural anxiety about women in the workplace? Because
you can't be as sure of their fidelity because they're out and about and around God knows who.
Well, and the way they dress up, the way they make themselves look nice to go into the office, I mean, you know, they might attract some attention from other men. Which
is, of course, a ludicrous thing to worry about because it assumes that no strange men ever go by your house when you're not there.
I feel like there might be a lot of cultural anxieties about that one as well.
The tradesman, the delivery guy, the NHK man. Oh, that one's only going to be funny to a small swath of you, and I really don't feel like explaining it right now.
But many of our listeners have probably... Actually, I think the NHK Man was mentioned in one of my research pieces at some point. So you should all know about the NHK Man. But also, I'm sure many of you have seen the commercials for the long, long man. And if you haven't, you probably should.
Which is about gum, by the way. It's a commercial for gum.
But, again, one of those commercials has him as a delivery guy arriving at the home of the female lead while her man is away at work.
The one other thing about, well, this isn't really about Lupe, it's tangential, but as a visual, in the past few episodes, as perhaps we're trying to get a better sense of the teamwork and a better feeling of connection to a broader cast, they've been doing a lot of the picture-in-picture thing that they'll often do with pilots inside their cockpits.
Mm-hmm.
When Lupe is planning this pincer attack against Uso with her two wingmen, we get cutaways to the two of them, but the faceplates of their normal suit helmets are reflective and we do not see their faces. That's hugely unusual.
Yes.
And maybe they just didn't feel like drawing faces that day.
I assume that was the biggest reason to do that.
But it anonymizes them.
Mm-hmm,
It lessens the impact of their deaths. And maybe to Lupe they are anonymous. Maybe that's the point.
She only has eyes for Uso, not these other men.
The other Freudian aspect of all of this, of course, it being between Uso and his father.
Mm-hmm. The father who just says the quiet part out loud, like, gosh, it's so difficult seeing your son become so strong. It's like you don't even know him anymore. It's like he's not your son. It's like he's become an adult.
Well, and that the act of becoming an adult estranges a son from his father.
Mm-hmm. And the general sitting next to Hangerg reaffirming this, like, yeah, it is difficult to see your children surpass you, to feel yourself growing older. But
it's also what you should have wanted for him all along, and you need to accept it.
I think Hangerg does a pretty good job of accepting it. There's actually an interesting contrast between Hangerg and Lupe in that Hangerg is not possessive of Uso. Yes, it's a little bit hurtful to see Uso become independent, but also, again and again, they've been saying, Uso is not just our child.
I was going to say, neither of Uso's parents have been possessive in that way.
Whereas Lupe, wants to consume him, wants to destroy him and possess all that remains, to possess the spirit of the boy that she killed.
And keep him a young child forever, whereas Uso's parents, it's almost been the opposite. It's like they've been training him for independence since he was very young.
And again, I think the idea is if Lupe went and had a child of her own, then she would be forced to get over these things. She would be forced to have correct emotions.
Except we've seen plenty of bad mothers in Gundam, so clearly
sure, yeah.
Having a baby does not fix you.
Those people foolishly delude themselves into believing it might work for them. Does it? No, never. But it might work for Lupe.
The stuff with Uso and his dad is also funny in contrast with Uso's own thoughts on the matter, which strike us as decidedly childlike.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't pilot well, if I don't do my best, Dad will yell at me.
Yeah.
Dad will be mad if I don't do my best. Others feel like maybe he's pushing himself too hard or trying too much because his father is watching. And it's like, oh no, it's not that. I just don't want him to be mad at me.
But he is behaving uncharacteristically. Uso in this episode is all about we got to pursue them, we got to hunt them down, we got to destroy this enemy fleet before they rendezvous with the other enemy fleets. And that's completely the opposite of the way he behaved for most of the series and not that many episodes ago. Back when they were on Earth, 3 episodes in the past, he was chiding both Odello and Tomash for pursuing fleeing enemies when they didn't need to. And I'm not pointing this out to be this is a contradiction. This is a plot hole. They've screwed up Uso's characterization. No, I mean, he is feeling a lot of pressure being watched by his father. And he is trying to be the best little soldier he can be.
And he either is being made to feel more brave because of his father's presence, or feels he needs to act more brave, whatever he thinks that looks like, because of his father's presence.
And how interesting that I think he is worried on some level that having reconnected with his father, he's going to be like put back into the box of being a helpless child. In the prior episode, before they get enlisted with the Federation or whatever formally happened in that ceremony, the kids are legitimately afraid that they're going to be told they can't pilot anymore. That now that they've linked up with the fleet, now that the professionals are here, the adults are here, these kids will no longer be necessary. So in the moment when Uso is most afraid that his dad is going to like treat him like a child, make him be a child again, he then encounters this enemy who only sees him as a child, wants to treat him as a child. And to her, he says, that's not who I am. I won't be your dream. I won't be anyone's tool. I can't help you, lady. It is funny that, again, bereft of any, like, positive interactions, any heartwarming footage, when they do this, like, montage flashback of Lupe moments as she's dying and they play the sad insert song, all they have for this is the clip from when she was trying to, like, force him to take a bath with her. That is Uso's only memory of this woman up until now.
Yeah, we will not be doing a memorial for Lupe. What would we do? Just play the song My Sharona?
I don't think we can afford to license it.
Lots of good teamwork from the various League Militaire pilots. A big focus on showing that teamwork in the way that the battles play out.
And not just the pilots, also the support crew back on the White Ark. And in fact, there's a nice little discussion between Warren and the Klanskys talking about this like change in all of them, their perceptions, that they're able to sense things more sharply than they did before.
I'm deeply curious about that, in particular, their description of a warmth we felt on Earth from the land and trees that they say they now feel in space.
Yeah.
Is that home?
Something to fight for? Something to go back to?
Have they brought that feeling of home with them?
Is there some deep Earth spirit without which humans are left incomplete?
And somehow Marbet both knows that what they're saying is true, whatever that means to her, but also does not feel it herself.
Is the new type like a baby born between space and Earth? Not a product of one or the other, but the union of the two.
I also appreciate the repeated discussions of how the sound of the bells from the Zanuck varies. It's not always menacing. It's not always frightening. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it beckons. Sometimes it calls to them to come closer.
Presumably all in tune with Farah's moods.
And that even as all of them seem to show some new type sensitivity, if we want to call it that, we can gauge their relative power by how sensitive they are. And that, for instance, Tomasz and Odello can only really hear the bells when they are in combat, when they can see the enemy, when they can see the Zanuck there. Shakti and Karaman seem the most sensitive. They can hear it basically all the time.
And Karaman more so than Shakti. He can't express it because he can't express anything. He's a baby. But they wouldn't be using him as their bell detector radar if Shakti could do it.
And Uso somewhere in the middle. He's certainly more sensitive to it than Tomasz and Odello, but seems to not be as sensitive as Shakti or Karaman.
Mm-hmm.
One incongruence that did bother me, with the new beam shield, they initially give it to Franny, and she's piloting a Hexa, and at first, when she winds up having to bail out of her mobile suit's destroyed, she's clinging to the shield and drifting through space, she blames herself, that she personally was not strong enough to use the beam shield. Later, when Odello picks her up, she tells Odello it's that the Hexa wasn't strong enough and the beam shield needs to go to the V2.
It could be both. When she bails out and blames herself, she talks about like, oh, a new model and I barely got to use it. She might be talking about the shield, but she might be talking about the Hexa. She might be saying like, oh, I messed up and lost the Hexa. I feel bad about that. But also that the shield was too powerful for the Hexa.
This new version of Shield-chan is too strong.
It's real strong, though. This shield shoots. It shoots a V of energy that destroys everything it passes by. It does the thing that they did in Char's counterattack, where it spits off some bits that then form a shield between them. It's a pretty cool shield, as shields go. I really liked this, unexpected moment of quiet, this reverie after Franny's mobile suit is destroyed.
Oh, where she's just drifting?
She's riding the shield almost like a surfboard, looking around at the battle,
it's
thinking
oddly
about
peaceful.
mortality.
She's thinking about, oh, why am I not more scared? Well, girl, you're probably in shock, but yeah, it's rather beautiful. And then, for no apparent reason, she goes from seeming physically fine to drifting off of the shield, even though she was clinging to it without any problems before. I don't know.
The Titans News Network tried to warn us about this. She fell prey to space madness. Very common condition. I don't know. There may be some intentional parallelism between Franny, accepting her death placidly there on the shield, and Lupe then accepting her own demise at the end of the episode.
All right. Shall we finish up by talking a little bit about Bespazanskar politics and the point at which my willingness to accept the various twists and turns of sci-fi reaches its breaking point.
Ooh, a breaking point?
A breaking point.
I personally enjoyed all of the Bespies plotting behind each other's backs.
Oh, I love that part where, Tassilo and Pipiniden are clearly plotting against each other.
Right.
Tassilo ideally wants Pipiniden to be killed in this battle.
I mean, I think
or at
both
least
of them
badly damaged,
Both of them are anticipating some other future conflict with somebody else. Kagati, apparently.
Well, they're plotting together against Kagati, possibly. They mention it on the call.
But see, I don't think they're working together at that point. I think Tassilo is throwing up a smokescreen. He's distracting Pipiniden. But yeah, both of them are first I need to eliminate this lesser threat, and then I can move on to the greater one.
And Tassilo talking about how, he thinks it was badly done that Pipiniden and Chronicle obeyed the ceasefire. He does not think they should have done that.
Uh-huh.
And learning that Tassilo's execution was a sham from the beginning so that he could be assigned to this top secret Angel Halo project.
Without anyone noticing. Though that's just what Pipiniden thinks is going on. And while it does seem reasonable, Pipiniden also seems like kind of an idiot. Certainly he gets outplayed.
I was surprised at his confidence at the idea of trying to move against the Ligue Militaire and Tassilo at the same time, and him personally launching in the middle of the battle. I was like, oh, these are both terrible ideas.
Well, him personally launching in the middle of the battle is because he's actually a pilot, he shouldn't be here. He's not rated for scheme hatchery. He should be out there flying around in his concentration camp mobile armor, letting somebody else call the shots. Also, I think by that point he's worked out that he is going to be sacrificed. Whether he plots against Tassilo or not, Tassilo is going to try to get him killed. I do love that Pipiniden's plan is to if we engage the Ligue Militaire and the Earth Federation, and then we fall back far enough, then Tassilo will be forced to take action. And the whole thing goes exactly as planned, and Tassilo is just sitting there nope. I'm not going to do it.
You can't make me.
I'm very comfortable here.
I draw the line at we are going to build a massive human mind control machine in space.
You don't think that's the logical next step from new type psychic powers? We had kind of mind control. We had conditioning mind control as far back as Zeta.
I'm not quite sure how to articulate my objection beyond the fact that it's just too easy. We have this big mind control machine and we'll just move it close to a population, a group of people, and now we control their minds and they have no more free will. That was easy. Now we can do whatever we like.
I assume there's more to it than that. I'm sure there are complications.
It's always been small scale before and has always been labor and resource intensive to do.
Mm-hmm.
And to the extent that new types can influence other people beyond normal human-to-human influence, it's case by case. It's not like a blanket ability that effectively like removes people's free will in the way that mind control would. I do love that they call it the angel halo.
Yeah.
Like, the only way to make people be good is to make them be good.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of the idea of like, they call out in the show what an angel's halo is for the audience that may not be familiar with that. And I guess the idea might well be that like, you put the halo on each person and the halo makes them into an angel. The halo makes them good. Like a mind control collar or something. I'll cop to my priors here. I just really like mind control as a trope in stories. I think it's very fun.
Slavery? You approve of the enslavement of people as a trope in stories?
Excuse you. Saying I enjoy stories that involve mind control does not mean that I approve of mind control. I love when the heroes heroically smash the mind control device.
Okay. Just... No, I get that. It really skeeves me out.
Yes.
It skeeves me out badly.
Oh, yeah, that's what's great about it. It's so skeevy. It's like the ultimate violation of self.
You can hear the grin on his face as he says that.
And Victory is kind of a show about, like, other people trying to put you into a particular box and put a label on it. One that's convenient for them, one that fits in with what they want out of their life. See Lupe Fiasco. I'm sorry, to the real Lupe Fiasco, this isn't about you. This is about Lupe, who is a fiasco. Like Trigun, Lupe the Fiasco.
But they've told such a compelling story around what they have told their soldiers and what they have offered their soldiers to manipulate them, around all of those episodes in Zanskar Home Colony, where it becomes clear that this is a population that will accept almost any horror visited on other people so long as they can retain the blessing of Maria's power, Maria's protection of them and support of them. And that's willing. They are willing to do these things because of what's been promised to them. And I find that so much more compelling than, the evil empire mind-controlled all their people into going along with their nefarious plans.
But we have been told that the Zanskar Empire was built by the guillotine. It was with the guillotine that free colonies were turned into subjects, that free colonists were turned into loyal worshippers. It is with the threat, it is with the violence, wedded to, and I use that term very consciously, wedded to the bounteous gifts of Mother Maria. They have tried the guillotine on Earth. They have tried guillotines of increasing size. They've tried the regular guillotine. They tried the Kailasgili orbital satellite cannon. They tried the Motorrad fleet. Now this is the next escalation of that. Again, it ties into that religion element. Like, what greater threat from above can there be than God? They are taking the power of the gods, and they are using it to oppress the people of Earth.
And finally, we learn that Chronicle is already at Angel Halo and Maria is on her way. I assume because she is the only new type that they have who is powerful enough to use the Angel Halo for its purpose. Which, of course, leads me to all kinds of speculation about later in the show. For instance, will Shakti have an opportunity to try to use the Angel Halo instead? Will she have to choose whether or not to wield this monstrous power against others? Because she could turn it on the Vespa fleet. She could turn it on Zanskar to try to make them abandon their designs against Earth. But would she?
Well, it's a Tomino show, so will somebody from the League Militaire side take control of the Angel Halo and then use it to give the entire Zanskar Empire diarrhea?
Oh.
And now, Nina's research on the Zanek.
As the characters point out, the Zanek is no typical mobile suit. In both how it functions and in some elements of its design, it is unique. But while Uso and the rest saw it and thought of UFOs and flying saucers, I saw references to Buddhist art and iconography. And Tom tells me that the mecha designer named the Japanese thunder god Raijin as an inspiration. So, who is Raijin? What tales may be relevant to Victory Gundam? What is the possible symbolism of the Zanek's various unique elements? And what is the deal with the bells? Raijin, also known as Raiden, or more general Kaminari-sama, is the most prominent and well-known of Japan's thunder deities. Izanami and Izanagi, the divine creators of the Japanese archipelago, had many children, islands and seas, deities. One of these births killed Izanami, and she descended to Yomi, the land of darkness and death. Raijin and the other thunder gods were birthed from her corpse. Izanagi comes to Yomi to retrieve Izanami, but flees in horror and disgust when he sees her decayed, maggoty body. Enraged, she orders Raijin to pursue his father, and when he does, he takes death and destruction with him to the mortal realm. It was long said in Japan that if you did not cover your navel or belly button, Raijin would kidnap you and eat it. Though one source describes this as a just-so story, another mentions that Raijin, like all the denizens of Yomi, holds, quote, great envy and hatred toward natural-born humans, whose belly buttons may serve as a reminder of Raijin's unnatural birth in the land of the dead. In the Japanese tradition, thunder deities, also connected with lightning and storms, are associated with death, protection, and fertility. Wild and unrestrained, they have no respect for authority, and they are controllable if only one knows how to approach them. They are powerful but willing to share that power with humankind. As one of the categories of deity most intimate with humankind, they serve as emissaries between gods and humans, and are in between in many other ways, connected to both heaven and earth, the divine and the mortal, the pure and the polluted. Thunder and lightning are destructive, but also symbolize pure, immutable truth and sudden insight. And the rain that the thunderstorms bring is necessary for the fertility of the land. There's a kabuki play based on an old saying that depicts a drought occurring because Raijin is slacking off or imprisoned. Yet it was also said that Raijin's lightning, when it struck a crop, would produce a bountiful yield, and it was believed that lightning was responsible for fertilizing the rice plant. An impudent trickster, one source described Raijin as unwilling to listen to priests, monks, or even the Emperor of Japan, but still answerable to the gods. In one tale, Raijin is so disruptive that the Emperor orders Sugaru the God-catcher to imprison Raijin. Quote, Sugaru first petitioned Raijin in the name of the Emperor to give himself over willingly, to which Raijin responded with laughter. Sugaru then invoked Canon, the Buddha of compassion, which compelled Raijin to let Sugaru take him to the Emperor. Under the control of Sugaru and the Emperor, Raijin was forced to halt his destructive ways and bring only rain and bounty to Japan, at least for a time. Perhaps this piety is why Raijin is also considered a protector of temples and shrines, and is sometimes portrayed as one of the 28 attendants of the 1,000-armed canon bodhisattva. Myths and legends of the thunder gods often conflate different gods, or apply the same story to different entities. Some tales describe thunder as Raijin's incessant crying. Others describe the toddler thunder deity, Ajishiki Taka Hikone no Kami, having a petulant outburst at a funeral. His crying is the sound of thunder, and a woman carrying him up and down a ladder in an attempt to calm him is the reason why the sound of thunder seems to get nearer and farther away. The children of thunder deities and human women are the strong men of myth and legend. Wild, powerful, and uncontrollable, they can only be tamed by Buddhism or by social obligations. The legendary warrior Benkei's mother is said to be the daughter of a human woman and a thunder god. And perhaps most relevant to the Zanek and to Farah, in the Kyoto area during the Heian period, Raijin was associated with the cult of Goryo, vengeful spirits of the dead. Quote, lightning strikes represented the manifestation of Goryo's curse, and furthermore, this belief was associated with the vengeful spirit of a wrongfully accused courtier. In visual depictions, paintings, sculptures, Raijin is almost always depicted with his counterpart, the wind god Fujin. In some popular medieval stories about the failed Mongol invasions of Japan, Raijin and Fujin were responsible for the typhoons that sank the Mongol ships. Depicted as a pair, Raijin's mouth is open to dispel evil spirits, while Fujin's is closed to keep the good in. Several sources also describe the open mouth as representing the first sound in a particular syllabary, and the closed mouth as representing the last sound. Together, they are the beginning and the end, the alpha and the omega, the sum of all things. And I want you to remember this pairing because pairs are going to keep coming up. In addition to being shown with Fujin, Raijin is often shown wielding thunderbolts or a barrel drum, or surrounded by a circlet of barrel drums. And while ancient texts sometimes render Raijin as a serpent or a small child, from approximately the Kamakura period onward, pictures and sculptures of Raijin portrayed a demonic form, or oni, in red or white. Descriptions of oni have a lot in common with descriptions of Raijin. Not good or evil, these powerful, mischievous, and only sometimes malicious beings can be forces for good, or troublemakers, or servants of the king of hell, or even personifications of disease. And here we get into the design of the Zanek itself. Way back in Season 2, Episode 51, Tom talked about the O, and how the shape of the head was very similar to the shape of a particular peaked priest's hat. The Zanek's head evokes that same hat, and when we talked about the Zanek's design, Tom thought that the string of circular shapes around the neck and shoulders were rather like a rosary. It turns out there is a precedent of oni dressed as priests in Japanese art. They symbolize hypocrisy, as the oni priests don't actually want to serve Buddhism, which feels rather fitting, given all the hypocrisy we've noted in Zanskar's statements and actions. On the Zanek's shoulders, or pauldrons, are two crescents facing away from each other. I considered a lot of possible symbolism for these. First, Gundam isn't shy about invoking neo-pagan symbolism, especially when it relates to women. And if we imagine the Zanex flying a disc as a circle in the center, the circle flanked by two crescents is sometimes called the triple goddess symbol, a waxing moon, a full moon, and a waning moon, representing the feminine archetypes of the maiden, mother, and crone. With Farah as the pilot, it's plausible. In Japan, the crescent moon was believed to have protective powers. That's why so many samurai helmets incorporate a crescent moon into their design. So that's another possibility. I also learned that in Japanese art, stars are depicted not as having points, but just as circles. When the shoulder pieces power up, they fill with light and appear as, well, bright circles. So they could be stars or a constellation, which in Japanese art would also be considered protective or auspicious. But I think the most likely explanation comes from a folktale in which Raijin, residing up in the clouds, has two young girl attendants who accompany him everywhere and use mirrors to make lightning. And the Zanek's shoulder crescents do seem to power its big gun. Moreover, in Japanese art, lightning is usually depicted as a straight line, rather like beam fire. My first thought about the Zanek's flying saucer was that it was a floating lotus. In Buddhist art, the lotus is a metaphor for purity, and deities are often shown sitting or standing on a lotus mount. The lotus is also associated with death and transformation, since, quote, new souls in heaven are said to appear seated on lotuses. But it turns out the flying saucer is probably a wheel. The Buddhist wheel of the law has 8 spokes, quote, reflecting the eightfold path to overcoming worldly desire, and it signifies that all illusions will be crushed by the faith's enlightenment. In many shots of the Zanek, the saucer's 8 spokes are clearly visible. In one of the yokai encyclopedias of Toriyama Sekien, there's a story of a road in Omi province where the sound of a cartwheel could be heard every night, but to actually look upon the wheel would bring catastrophe. One day, a woman cannot contain her curiosity, and when she looks out her window at the wheel, her baby is taken. She begs the wheel to return her child, and the wheel does. It takes pity on her, but no one dared to look upon the wheel again. Another yokai wheel has a monk's face, is depicted rolling all about, not just on land, but through the sky as well, and, quote, any who gaze upon it shall forfeit their soul. The long gun seems rather like a stave, and is even wielded like one when it takes the head off of Tomash's mobile suit. Buddhist deities are frequently shown carrying elaborate Chinese polearms, and in Japan, wandering monks usually carried an alarm staff, or shakujo, a staff with an elaborate finial on top, which included a number of hanging metal rings that would rattle as the staff was moved, used for everything from scaring away wildlife to asking for alms without speaking. Now we come to the bells. Bells have had symbolic and spiritual significance in Japan for a very long time. One of the 8 treasures of the imperial institution, bells were considered auspicious and in some cases protective or purifying. Kofun-era clay figures of people and animals were often adorned with bells, as were mirrors. Bells were used to scare animals away from crops and to scare away animals while foraging, and to this day, bells are used as good luck charms. I realized, thinking about this, that both of the cell phone charms I used when I lived in Kyoto were tiny bells. The use of this kind of bell in festive proceedings and in Shinto ceremonies, particularly the Kagura dance, is said to descend from the comic, noisy dance that convinced Amaterasu to leave the cave in which she'd been hiding. Once performed by shrine maidens, priests, and mountain ascetics, nowadays the Kagura dance usually involves the shrine maiden carrying a stick mounted with layers of bells, 3 in the first layer, 5 in the second, and 7 in the third, which may correspond to the bells at Farah's head, waist, and feet. I'm certain Farah has 3 bells on her head, but it was harder to get a clear view or count of the other bells she's wearing. In older versions of the Kagura dance, quote, one of the miko, or shrine maiden's duties, was to be possessed by a kami or some other spirit and be its oracle. Spirit possession, or kamigakari, quote, is generally accompanied by a physical and mental transformation, and to induce that state, other people present produce sounds using a koto, bell, shakujo staff, or other implements, continuously intone incantations and voice loud cries of encouragement. On top of that, most mediums were women or children, due to the belief that they could more easily enter a state of possession. There are even associated yokai, or ghost, demon, spirit things. One, Suzuhiko Hime, dances with bells on her head. I will try to include an image in the show notes. And appears with Ungaikyo, the mirror beyond the clouds, which reveals the form of strange things or illuminates demons and yokai. And remember, the Xanax pauldrons could be construed as mirrors. If bells call out to gods and spirits, are new types gods? Tom mentioned offhand that the completed Kailas Gili, with its big cannon and 2 squids, resembled a vajra. In drawings, paintings, and sculpture, a vajra is a round, symmetrical metal scepter with 2 ribbed spherical heads. The ribs may meet in a ball-shaped top, or they may be separate and end in sharp points. In the Vedic tradition, the vajra is a thunderbolt weapon held by Indra, the god of natural elements and controller of the rains. In Sanskrit, the word vajra can mean thunderbolt or diamond, and the vajra object is sometimes called a diamond mace. In Japan, the vajra object is called kongo and is a visual representation of lightning, and lightning as a weapon, capable of driving out both evil and worldly desires, and reflecting the adamantine determination of Buddhism to defeat illusion and spread enlightenment. I bring up the vajra because in ritual use, the vajra is frequently employed in conjunction with the bell. The vajra, symbolizing the male principle and fitness of action, is held in the right hand, and the bell, symbolizing the female principle, intelligence, in the left hand, the interaction of the two ultimately leading to enlightenment, making the zanek, the bell, or the feminine counterpart to the Kailas Gili, Farah, the feminine counterpoint to Tassilo. Finally, I want to bring up the Nio, or Kongoro Shiki, also known as Vajra wrestlers, lightning wrestlers, or strongman wrestlers. Depicted in a pair, paintings or sculptures of Nio frequently guard the entrances or gates of Buddhist temples. And like Raijin and Furin, one has an open mouth and the other are closed. In some tales, they are Oni who become Buddhist disciples. In another, a certain king's wives bore him sons after word of the Buddhist preaching had reached his ears. The first wife bore 1,000 sons, whom the king wished to have attain perfect enlightenment. The second bore only 2 sons. One of these 2 vowed to turn the wheel of the law for his 1,000 brothers. The other vowed to protect the first while he worked. They represent the duality and union of the material and spiritual, and are sometimes thought to be 2 aspects of a single being. The Nio are also said to protect babies and to provide protection from thieves, and it's worth pointing out that historically, wrestling had great spiritual, divinatory, and legal significance, was sometimes a sacred practice, and was associated with banishing demons. I can't help but wonder if Uso is meant to be a sort of Nio. He is certainly a strongman character who wields thunder, beam weapons, protects a literal baby, seeks to protect Earth from theft by Zanskar, and frequently fights in a very physical, rough and tumble way that could be called wrestling. For me, the most compelling part of all of this was actually learning that the Vajra and the Bell are seen as counterparts, especially after Tom identified in Zanskar that we have all of these male-female pairs. We've already noticed, just from the way Farah is portrayed in the show, she's treated like a ghost, like a dead woman walking.
Mm-hmm.
And this connection between Raijin Raiden and this particular cult of like the spirits of wronged courtiers coming back to curse the living. When we know that she wasn't actually guilty of anything within the construct of her own, like society's laws, that deserved punishment by death. She was used and scapegoated. And so she could be seen as this vengeful courtier, this wronged spirit coming back to exact some sort of curse or vengeance.
She has come back with a different attitude, a different personality. She even looks a little bit different. Her expressions, in particular, the eyes, as though she has been possessed, like the spirit medium. Out there in the wilds of space, she encountered some wandering, angry spirit.
I will include some screenshots from the episodes of some of the visual elements I talk about, but the wheel is very distinct, and I am absolutely positive that the Zanek's flying saucer evokes the Buddhist wheel of the law. Whether that was intentional or not, I can't speak to, but it seems pretty clear when you look at the art side by side.
I remember in the episode where Uso and Marbet are captured by Zanskar, they're being held in what seems to be the Zanskar equivalent of the Pentagon, only it's shaped like a wheel. Of course it is. And I'm pretty sure it too has 8 spokes, which, if that's just a coincidence, would be a pretty astonishing coincidence. I should note, if you go on the Gundam wiki, it says that the Zanek is actually based on Fujin, the wind god. There's a pair of mobile suits, we haven't met the other one, who are derived from designs for Raijin and Fujin. And the Gundam wiki says that the Zanek is from Fujin, the other one is from Raijin. I'm pretty sure they've simply mistranslated the interview with the mecha designer where he identifies which is which. I think that's just a mistake on their part.
I suppose we can make our own decision when the counterpart mobile suit is introduced and I inevitably do some research on Fujin.
Yeah, once it appears, I don't think there's going to be a lot of doubt about which one is based on which.
Next time on episode 10.43, Big Ship, Big Gun. We research and discuss Victory Gundam episode 43 and She is a Char! Putting away childish harrows. I don't want explanations, I want to be mad. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and war material comes from Jupiter. Radio silence. The execution is just for show. Something something, Darling in the Franxx, something something, Iron Widow. Space derangement. And Uso Uin and the Boots That Shoot, that's my favorite ska band. Please listen to it.
Mobile Suit Breakdown is written, recorded, and produced by us, Tom and Nina, in scenic New York City, within the ancestral and unceded land of the Lenape people, and made possible by listeners like you. The opening track is Wasp by Misha Dioxin. The closing music is Long Way Home by Spinning Ratio. The recap music is Slow by Lloyd Rogers. You can find links to the sources for our research, the music used in the episode, additional information about the Lenape people, and more in the show notes on our website, GundamPodcast.com. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can email hosts@GundamPodcast.com or look for links to our social media accounts on our website. And if you would like to support the show, please share us with your friends, leave a nice review wherever you listen to podcasts, or support us financially at GundamPodcast.com/Patreon. You can find links and more ways to help out at GundamPodcast.com/support. Thank you for listening. There are a lot of wrong Gundam opinions out there corrupting the universal century. Wrong opinions from wrong characters. Like when Uso said, having a baby would fix her. Look forward to more characters with more wrong opinions, as long as there's Gundam to watch.
In the middle of summer where I would give anything to not be warm.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, I do not want to be warm. I want to be warmed on a cold day. I wanted to drink a hot beverage on a cold day. I want to sit in front of the heater or the fire on a cold day. I want to wrap myself in blankets. I don't want to be warm. Being warm is very unpleasant.
I do enjoy the process of going from being cold to being warm. Like, once the sunshine starts to feel a bit warm, and it's chilly in the shade, but you go lay in the sun in the park and you feel the sun warming you.
See, this is the thing. Cold day, then you get warmed. I like warm as a verb. That's what we're talking about here. Actually, what we're talking about here is Gundam. Shall I do the introduction?
Kick us off.
Ready?
If you please.
This week we are covering Victory Episode 42. Ooh, I forgot to write this part of the intro. Real quick, 1 second. Dooby 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 doo 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 dooby doo 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 doo.
Research this week, 2,475 words. Not like one of your tomes, but pretty respectable. Tiger, you have to get down. You're sitting on top of my notes. Yeah, but you get the joke I'm making, right?
Oh, I get the joke you're making.
Okay, just that's the point. There you go.
We do actually. I do have a wrong Gundam opinion this week. Yeah.